The largest concrete dome on the planet was not built in the 20th century. It was not built in the 19th. It was poured almost 2,000 years ago in the center of Rome, without steel reinforcement, without computer calculations, without modern machinery. And it is still standing. Not one engineer today can fully explain why it has not collapsed. In India, a well was built with 3,500 steps arranged in a geometric pattern so precise it looks like a render from a 3D modeling program, not stone carved in the 9th century. In Lebanon, 3 stone blocks sit on a platform 18 meters off the ground. Each one weighs 800 tons. Moving a single block that size would require the simultaneous force of 40,000 people pulling at once. And there is simply no room around the stone for 40,000 people and their ropes. Today we are going through 7 points on the map where ancient builders created things that by every law of physics and common sense should not have existed in their time. Every single one of these places can be visited today. Every fact has been documented, measured, and verified. And every one of them forces the same uncomfortable question: what exactly did our ancestors know that we do not? The Pantheon in Rome was built under Emperor Hadrian around 125 AD. Its dome has a diameter of 43 meters and 30 centimeters. It remains to this day the largest unreinforced concrete dome in the world. For comparison, the dome of St. Peter's Basilica, built 1,500 years later, is smaller, and it is held together with iron chains to stop it from spreading apart. The Romans needed no chains, because they used a technique that modern engineers only fully understood in the 20th century. The concrete in the lower section of the dome is mixed with heavy travertine and tuff. As the dome rises toward the top, the builders switch to pumice, a volcanic rock that weighs 3 times less than standard stone. The dome becomes lighter as it climbs. That distribution of mass was not an accident. It was a precise engineering calculation. At the very top sits the oculus, a circular opening nearly 9 meters wide, open to the sky. When it rains, water enters the building. But it does not pool, because the floor of the Pantheon has a barely visible slope leading to 2 hidden drainage points. The building functions as a single integrated mechanism where every detail solves a specific problem. In 2023, a team of engineers from MIT analyzed Roman concrete and found particles of lime that were previously dismissed as mixing errors. Those particles, it turns out, trigger a chemical reaction when they contact water, filling microcracks as they form. The concrete of the Pantheon repairs itself. And the Romans built that capability into the recipe intentionally. We discovered this mechanism only with electron microscopes. They were using it 2,000 years ago. Brunelleschi spent years inside the Pantheon before he dared to build the dome of Florence Cathedral, and still made his smaller. Michelangelo looked at the Pantheon and said it was the work of angels, not men. If the Romans already surprise you, here is what makes it even harder to process. 1,000 years before Rome, on the island of Crete, there existed a civilization with running water, sewage systems, and ventilation. The Palace of Knossos was excavated in 1900 by British archaeologist Arthur Evans. He expected to find the ruins of a primitive fortress. Instead, he uncovered a complex covering more than 20,000 square meters with 1,300 rooms. Beneath the floors ran an elaborate network of ceramic pipes that brought clean water in from mountain springs and simultaneously carried wastewater out. The pipes were conical, narrowing at one end and slotting into the next, creating pressure within the system. That is a hydraulic principle that engineering did not formally recognize until the 19th century. The Minoans were using it 1,500 years before the Romans built their famous aqueducts. When Evans first saw this system, he refused to believe it dated to the 2nd millennium BC. He wrote in his diary that what he was looking at was engineering worthy of Victorian England, hidden under the ruins of the Bronze Age. In the western wing of the palace, Evans found a room he called the Queen's Room, containing what functioned as a flush toilet. Water entered from above, cleared waste into a stone channel, and carried it into an underground collector. Europe did not return to that level of sanitation until the 19th century, after cholera epidemics forced the issue. If you are watching this for the first time and this is the kind of history you want more of, subscribe now, because we are only getting started, and what comes next will make you question the timeline you were taught in school. If the Minoans were ahead of their time in engineering, the next structure was ahead of its time in architecture by 3,500 years. The mortuary temple of Queen Hatshepsut at Deir el-Bahari on the west bank of the Nile looks like it was designed in the 1930s. 3 terraces cut into a sheer cliff face, connected by ramps, lined with columns of strict rectangular geometry. No decorative flourishes, no curves. No Egyptian temple looks like this, because the architect Senenmut created something fundamentally new. He did not simply place a building against the cliff. He made the cliff part of the building. The geometry of the temple perfectly mirrors the lines of the mountain range behind it, as if the architecture grows out of the earth itself. That approach, integrating a structure into its landscape, became the defining idea of 20th century architectural modernism. Frank Lloyd Wright became famous for it when he built Fallingwater in 1935. Senenmut applied the same principle 3,500 years earlier. The temple is oriented so that on the day of the winter solstice, a beam of sunlight penetrates through all 3 levels and illuminates the statue of the god Ammonius in the innermost sanctuary. That means the builders calculated the precise axial angle of the entire structure with astronomical accuracy, without telescopes, without computers, without any instrument we know of. Hatshepsut herself was one of the few female pharaohs in Egyptian history. After her death, her stepson Thutmose III ordered all references to her erased. Workers chiseled her name from stone tablets and scratched her face from reliefs across Egypt. But no one touched the temple because destroying it would have meant destroying the cliff. The building, designed as a monument to one woman, survived every attempt to erase her from history and has stood for 3,500 years. If carving a building into a cliff sounds complex, the next builders went further. They carved an entire city out of vertical rock, working from the top down. Petra, in modern-day Jordan, was the capital of the Nabatean kingdom and the largest trading hub of the ancient world. Its most famous facade, Al-Khazna, is cut from a single mass of rose-red sandstone and rises 40 meters above the ground. To understand the difficulty of this work, you need to understand the method. The builders started at the top of the cliff and worked downward. A mistake on the upper level meant abandoning the entire structure, because you cannot add stone back once it is gone. They had no scaffolding in the conventional sense. They carved steps directly into the rock and descended along them, creating the facade centimeter by centimeter. The columns of Al-Khazna are executed in Corinthian style with a level of detail that would be difficult to reproduce even with modern precision cutting tools. The Nabateans were not simply copying Greek architecture. They were blending it with Egyptian and Mesopotamian motifs to create a style that exists nowhere else in the world. The city contains more than 800 tombs, temples, and dwellings carved into the rock. Less than 15% of the site has been excavated. What remains buried underneath the remaining 85% is still unknown. But the facades are only half the story of Petra. The other half is underground. In a desert where rain falls only a few times a year, the Nabateans built a city of 100,000 people, complete with fountains and swimming pools. A system of channels, cisterns, and ceramic pipes collected every drop of rainfall across hundreds of square kilometers and directed it into the city. The Nabateans developed a method of coating the interior surfaces of stone reservoirs with a waterproof plaster whose exact recipe has still not been fully reconstructed today. When Rome annexed the Nabatean kingdom in 106 AD, Roman engineers, who considered themselves the best in the world, were stunned by the level of Nabatean water management. They did not rebuild it. They simply continued using it. That is the highest form of professional recognition one civilization can give to another. Which of these 7 structures would you most want to visit? Leave your answer in the comments. We read every one. Petra was abandoned when trade routes shifted and the city slowly emptied. The knowledge of how to build it, the water systems, the rock-cutting techniques, the waterproof plaster, died with the last Nabatean craftsman who held it. No one passed it on. No manual survived. It simply ended. From the deserts of Jordan we move to the deserts of Rajasthan, India, where in the 9th century someone built a structure that makes modern architects stop and stare. The stepwell of Chand Bauri descends 13 stories underground and contains 3,500 steps arranged in a perfectly symmetrical geometric pattern. Viewed from above, the walls look like an optical illusion, like a render from a 3D modeling program, not stone laid by hand in the 9th century. Each of the 4 walls descends to the water in zigzagging staircases, and every single step fits its neighbor with a precision that rules out any possibility of accident. The stepwell was built on the orders of Raja Chand of the Nikumba dynasty between approximately 800 and 900 AD. The official explanation is simple: an arid climate required deep access to groundwater. But if the goal was only water, why this level of complexity? A basic shaft with a rope and a bucket would have solved the problem. 3,500 steps laid with mathematical precision serve a purpose beyond water collection. Some historians believe Chandbauri was not simply a well but a temple complex, a place of meditation where the descent to water symbolized a journey toward enlightenment. The temperature at the bottom of the well is 5 to 6 degrees cooler than at the surface. In the heat of Rajasthan, that made it a natural air conditioning system. People descended not only for water but for shade and coolness, turning the stepwell into the center of community life. On one side of the well, unlike the other 3, there are no staircases. Instead, there is a gallery of niches, pavilions, and sculptures housing a temple dedicated to the goddess Harshut Mata. The architect designed a space where the daily necessity of fetching water became a ritual, and a utilitarian structure became a work of art. Engineers today are still unable to explain how 13 stories of soft limestone have stood without a single structural crack for over 1,000 years. From India we move to Lebanon, where stones lie in positions they should never have reached. Baalbek, also known as Heliopolis, is an ancient city in the Bekaa Valley that contains something modern heavy machinery would struggle to replicate. The Temple of Jupiter at Baalbek stands on a platform made of stone blocks. 3 of those blocks are known as the Trilithon. Each one weighs approximately 800 tons and measures around 21 meters in length. They are raised 7 meters off the ground and placed against each other with millimeter precision. No mortar, no gaps. To understand the scale, 800 tons is roughly the weight of 2 fully loaded Boeing 747 aircraft. Modern cranes capable of lifting that weight exist, but they are rare, and positioning them requires months of site preparation. In the quarry near Baalbek, another block still lies where it was left, known as the Stone of the South, weighing approximately 1,200 tons. It was partially cut from the bedrock and then abandoned for an unknown reason. In 2014, the German Archaeological Institute discovered another block nearby, named the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, weighing approximately 1,650 tons. That is the heaviest worked stone ever found on the surface of the planet. And it is lying in a quarry as if someone set it aside and simply never came back. Official archaeology suggests the blocks were moved on wooden rollers by thousands of workers. But calculations show that moving an 800-ton block across flat ground requires the simultaneous force of at least 40,000 people pulling together. The problem is there is simply no room around the stone for 40,000 people and their ropes. We do not know how it was done. That is the only honest answer. Which of these structures do you think is the most impossible to explain with the technology of its time? Tell us in the comments. The final point on our map is in Ethiopia, and it may be the most extraordinary of all. Lalibela, a small city in the north of the country, contains 11 monolithic churches carved from solid rock in the 12th and 13th centuries. These churches were not built. They were subtracted. The builders began by selecting a section of volcanic rock and cutting a deep trench around it, leaving a solid stone block standing in the middle. Then from that block, working strictly from the top downward, they carved buildings complete with walls, windows, columns, and interior halls. The Church of Bet Georgius, dedicated to St. George, is cut in the shape of a perfect equilateral cross and descends 12 meters into the earth. Standing at the edge of the trench and looking down, you see a building with perfectly flat walls rising from the floor of a rectangular pit, like a ship in a dry dock, except the ship and the dock are the same piece of rock. All 11 churches are connected by underground tunnels and passageways forming a labyrinth beneath the surface. A drainage system diverts rainwater away from the walls, preventing erosion. The orientation of the buildings accounts for cardinal directions and water flow patterns. According to Ethiopian tradition, King Lalibela ordered the construction of a new Jerusalem after Muslim forces captured the original in 1187. Legend holds that the work took 23 years and that angels helped the workers at night, completing double their daytime output while they slept. Setting aside the angels and calculating the volume of rock that had to be removed, the numbers are staggering. For Bet Georgios alone, approximately 500 cubic meters of solid rock were extracted. For all 11 churches with their tunnels and trenches, the total runs into tens of thousands of cubic meters, without steel tools, without explosives, without any mechanization we know of. A Portuguese monk named Francisco Alvarez reached Lalibela in 1521 and wrote in his notes that no one would believe him when he described what he had seen. He was right. In Europe, his account was dismissed as fantasy, and Lalibela remained virtually unknown to the Western world for another 400 years. If this channel is showing you history you never learned in school, hit the like button. It costs nothing and it helps this content reach the people who need to see it. We have traveled through 7 points on the map, separated by thousands of kilometers and thousands of years. Roman concrete, Minoan plumbing, Egyptian landscape architecture, Nabatean rock cutting, Indian geometric precision, Lebanese logistics of the impossible, Ethiopian construction by subtraction. Not one of these technologies was passed on to the civilization that came after. Every time, knowledge was born, reached perfection, and died with the culture that created it. The recipe for Roman concrete was lost after the fall of the empire and has still not been fully reconstructed. Minoan hydraulics disappeared with the volcanic eruption that destroyed their world. Nabatean stone cutting ended when the trade routes shifted and Petra emptied. We are used to thinking of progress as a straight line, from simple to complex, from caves to skyscrapers. These 7 places prove that the line of progress has always been jagged, full of peaks we still cannot reach, and valleys that lasted centuries. Maybe the greatest mistake we make about the past is not that we underestimate what ancient people built. It is that we assume their knowledge was somehow guaranteed to survive. It was not. It never is. Bet Georgios still stands in its stone pit today. Every Sunday, priests in white robes descend the narrow steps cut into the rock and hold services in the same halls these buildings were created for. Lalibela never became a museum. It remained a living temple, and that may be the greatest wonder of all. Not that it was built, but that it was never abandoned. What surprised you most today? Which of these 7 places do you think deserves to be better known? Leave it in the comments. We read every one.